The movie opens with an elderly woman who speaks highly of a mysterious entity known as Sator. According to her, this creature protects her from all the dangers and evil lurking in the forest. We are then introduced to her grandson, Adam, who lives deep in the woods with the rest of his family. Adam is a quiet and withdrawn man who prefers to stay away from everyone else, living alone in a separate cabin. However, he is not completely alone, as his loyal dog is always by his side. Adam chose this isolated lifestyle after several tragic events struck his family, all of which seem to be connected to the mysterious entity. Recently, the family suffered two devastating incidents: the mysterious death of Adam's grandfather, Jim, and the disappearance of his mother. Determined to uncover the truth about Sator, Adam has placed cameras throughout the forest in hopes of capturing evidence of the creature's existence. Every night, he watches recordings of his grandmother, Nanny, talking about Sator. One night, it almost seems as if the entity is trying to communicate with him, while his dog begins growling aggressively. Adam suddenly snaps back to reality and notices his dog barking, but he chooses to ignore it. The next morning, Adam heads out hunting with his dog as usual, while also checking his cameras. During his inspection, he discovers that one of the cameras has stopped working, so he decides to seek help. Later, he meets his brother Peter, who appears unusually stressed, something Adam immediately notices. It seems that Peter may also be experiencing contact with the entity, but he refuses to admit it. After examining the camera, Peter suggests that the memory card might be corrupted and agrees to help Adam. Peter tells him that Jim left some belongings behind in his cabin and suggests searching there for another memory card. On the way, Peter admits that if he had known his life would turn out this way, he would have taken his own life long ago. He then speaks bitterly about their sister, Deborah, claiming that she never helped Adam live a normal life. Peter also says that if Adam had been willing to talk about Satur earlier, the family would have accepted him into the house and he would not have been forced to live alone in a cabin. When they arrive, Adam begins searching for the card while Peter goes inside to speak with Nanny. She explains that her memory has become weak and that there are many days when she cannot remember anything at all. Despite this, she still thinks about Jim every single day. Shortly afterward, Adam's sister-in-law Evie approaches him and says they need to talk. Adam remains silent, but his attention is suddenly drawn to a group of crows behaving strangely. Later, Peter drops Adam back at his cabin and leaves. Adam installs the new memory card and whistles for his dog, a signal that normally brings the animal running immediately. This time, however, the dog does not respond. Back inside the cabin, Adam listens to another recording of Nanny. In it, she explains how Sator is summoned. According to her, once Sator is called, it focuses completely on that person. The individual must surrender themselves entirely to it and place absolute trust in its presence. Nanny also says that before a person can be purified, they must first endure a trial of pain and suffering. Later, Adam tries to get some rest, but then he notices strange noises coming from inside the cabin. He attempts to turn on a lamp, but it doesn't work, so he uses a flashlight instead. As more unsettling sounds echo through the darkness, Adam points the beam toward the source. Suddenly, a loud barking sound breaks the silence. Although startled, Adam doesn't lose his nerve and continues investigating. That's when he realizes it's his dog, which has somehow returned. However, the dog looks terrified and desperately tries to get out of the cabin. The moment Adam opens the door, it bolts straight into the forest. Just then, Adam spots a mysterious light deep in the woods and once again falls into a trance-like state. In the vision, he finds himself standing in a dark place, facing a massive blazing fire. The next morning, Adam snaps out of the trance and heads into the forest to search for his dog. He spends hours wandering through the woods, but there is no sign of the animal anywhere. Eventually, he gives up and returns to the cabin alone. Hoping to find some answers, he reviews the camera footage, but nothing unusual appears in the recordings. The scene then shifts, showing Adam going about his daily routine as usual. Meanwhile, we see Peter talking to Grandma Nanny. Because of her illness, she remains extremely confused and can no longer recognize her own grandson. During the conversation, Adam arrives and begins reminiscing about the old days. After a while, he pulls himself together and grabs a gun for protection. At the same time, Nanny continues talking about Sator. She claims that Sator is almost human-like. According to her, the entity lives somewhere in the forest, but possesses the power to enter people's minds. Nanny explains that Sator is always aware of everything happening around it. She also reveals that Sator personally taught and trained her so that she could become its loyal servant. A little later, Abby asks Adam why he's carrying a gun. Adam explains that his dog has run away. Concerned, Abby wonders if a wild animal might have attacked it. Adam simply replies that he needs to stay alert at all times because anything can happen in the forest. Meanwhile, Peter openly talks about his fear of losing control of his own mind. He says that Sator is erasing his family's memories. Now, he can barely remember details about the accident, and he can't even clearly recall the face of his girlfriend Evie. Hearing this, Adam realizes that the mysterious entity is slowly consuming all of their memories, and that one day it may even erase their identities completely. Later, Adam prints out a photograph he found on the camera. Just then, there's a knock at the door. He immediately grabs his gun and heads outside, only to find Evan standing there. She explains that she found something hidden in Nanny's house and came to give it to him. Once inside, she hands Adam a family photo album. As he flips through the pictures, a look of sadness crosses his face. Evan expresses her sympathy over his mother's disappearance and asks if they ever found her, but Adam quietly says no. Evan tells him that she has experienced a similar kind of loss. However, Peter was always there for her, and she was able to get through it because of his support. Adam barely pays attention to what she's saying. Instead, he keeps staring at the photograph of his mother, as if he's desperately trying not to forget her. Suddenly, he begins hearing strange noises. When he gets up to investigate, he realizes that Evan has vanished without a trace. At that same moment, a massive glow of fire appears outside, as though something in the forest is burning. Then the cabin's power suddenly goes out. Adam lights an oil lamp and uses it to illuminate the room. He tries turning on the computer, but suddenly a terrifying man appears behind him, wearing a mask made of what looks like bones. Startled, Adam quickly points his gun at the stranger. A moment later, he realizes that the figure is actually human. Then a voice crackles through the radio saying that Satur is looking for him, and that if he joins him, his life will change forever. The stranger slowly removes his mask, revealing a completely bald head and eyes that look deeply unsettling. The voice on the radio continues praising Satur, insisting that no secret in the world can remain hidden forever. Without warning, the lights go out again. When Adam looks back, the mysterious man disappears. Panicked, Adam rushes outside, but all he finds is the cold wind and the empty forest. The next morning, Adam and Peter head out to search for the dog, but they find nothing. During their conversation, Peter says they should have done more to help Deborah because the responsibility of caring for their grandparents had completely broken. He also reveals that Jim sacrificed himself to Satur so their mother could be freed from the entity's influence. Nanny was involved as well, since she knew more about Satur than anyone else. Peter begins to believe that their entire family is slowly falling under the control of this demonic force, and that perhaps no one is safe anymore. Later, Peter says goodbye to his brother and notices that Adam's behavior has become even stranger than before. After returning home, Adam throws away the photograph of his mother and tries to burn the family photo album. At the very last second, he stops himself. Just then, an old recording from the past appears on screen. The entire family is gathered together celebrating Adam's birthday. The children say they miss their mother, and Deborah goes to look for her. When she enters the room, she finds her mother holding a radio and frantically writing strange messages, as if some unseen force is controlling her. The moment her mother notices the camera, she becomes furious and throws Deborah out of the room. It becomes clear that she had already fallen under the entity's influence. Later, Peter tells Deborah that they need to take away all those papers because their mother has completely changed. Deborah replies that Adam must also be removed from the house because he is starting to show the same signs. She fears that the voices are influencing him and that he might do something terrible that could ruin his life forever. Deborah then asks Adam if he is okay, but Adam only wants to know one thing. Has he hurt anyone? Deborah asks him what goes through his mind whenever he falls into those strange trances, and whether someone speaks to him as well, just like what happened to their mother and the nanny. Adam quietly answers yes. But the moment Deborah mentions Sutter's name, he immediately falls silent, and the recording abruptly ends. That night, Adam sits staring at a photograph of his mother. Suddenly, he hears the sound of heavy footsteps outside the cabin. He instantly realizes that the thing is looking for him. Gathering his courage, he grabs a shotgun and heads into the dark forest. A short while later, deep in the woods, he finds Evie tied to a tree, completely helpless. Adam rushes toward her and quickly starts untying the ropes. But as soon as Evie regains consciousness, she sees Adam and becomes terrified, desperately trying to get away. At that moment, an unnatural force takes control of Adam's body. He loses all control and unwillingly begins choking her. Somehow, Evie manages to escape. But while running away, she is suddenly lifted into the air by an invisible force and vanishes right before Adam's eyes. Moments later, horrifying growls and the sound of heavy footsteps echo through the forest. Adam realizes that something is stalking him in the darkness, and he runs for his life. As he flees, he spots a strange old woman standing silently among the trees, watching him. The sight terrifies him even more, and he sprints deeper into the woods. The next morning, Adam wakes up inside the cabin, now completely consumed by the entity's obsession. Just like his mother and grandmother before him, he spends hours staring at photographs taken by the cameras, carefully studying them and noticing strange shadows hidden among the trees. Adam takes a deep breath. Years of living in fear of this mysterious force have finally begun to break him. As night falls, he lights candles throughout the entire cabin, as if he already knows that something horrifying is about to happen. A short while later, the terrifying creatures begin entering the cabin and searching for him. Seizing the opportunity, Adam runs into the forest. But the creatures continue hunting him relentlessly. As he flees through the snow, he suddenly falls. And that's when he notices a mysterious cave nearby. A bright light is shining from within, and under the influence of the voices echoing inside his head, he slowly walks into the cave. There, he finally comes face to face with Sator. Covered in bones, hides, and horrifying remains, Sator appears as a monstrous and terrifying creature. The moment Adam sees him, he falls into a deep trance, making it clear that his mind has now been completely taken over by Sator. Meanwhile, Peter is out alone in the snow searching for game, while Deborah stays home to take care of Nani. During this time, Deborah begins looking through scattered papers around the house and discovers a series of strange drawings. She asks Nani if their mother also used to hear voices. Nani says no, but Deborah believes their mother disappeared because she wanted to go with Satur. Nani admits that could be true. Nani then asks Deborah to read a written message. The note says that they have been chosen by the fire of suffering and must now offer themselves as a sacrifice in the flames for Satur's purification. Suspicious, Deborah asks about Jim's death. Nani explains that Jim had already accepted his fate. One day, he simply walked outside, lay down in the grass, and a few hours later, he was found dead. Deborah says that after Jim's death, both Peter's and Evan's lives fell apart. She explains that Peter wants to leave for a while because he is mentally exhausted and completely broken. Nani tells her that she will always try to make him feel loved and accepted. Elsewhere, Peter tries to catch fish but fails and eventually returns home. Later, he asks Deborah whether this condition runs in the family. Deborah assumes he's talking about dementia, but Peter clarifies that he's referring to the voices. Deborah replies that if hearing voices were the only problem, things wouldn't be so bad because Nani has never harmed anyone. But Peter points out that their mother never hurt anyone either. Hearing this, Deborah becomes angry and accuses Peter of still believing that Sator killed Jim. She says that if he truly believes that, he should be sent back to the hospital. Wanting to avoid another argument, Peter changes the subject and asks if he can see Adam. But Deborah firmly refuses. She tells him that Adam has become dangerous. Later, Peter says goodbye to his sister, but he doesn't want to leave without seeing Adam. So he heads to Adam's cabin. When he arrives, Adam is nowhere to be found, so Peter decides to wait. Suddenly, a strange man appears in front of him, and moments later, someone attacks him. Peter is burned alive, and it is later revealed that the person who killed him was Adam himself. Meanwhile, Deborah grows increasingly worried about her brother. Around the same time, the nanny starts acting strangely, and it becomes clear that someone else is lurking inside the house. A little while later, Deborah realizes that the nanny has disappeared. She goes outside to look for her and unexpectedly runs into Adam, who now seems completely different. His eyes look empty and terrifying. Deborah breaks down in tears because she realizes that something horrible is about to happen. Without warning, Adam grabs her by the throat and slams her to the ground. At that moment, Evie appears as well, but before Deborah can understand what's happening, Adam pours gasoline all over her and sets her on fire. Adam completes yet another sacrifice and stands there watching as his own sister burns alive. Her agonizing screams echo throughout the entire forest. Afterward, Adam walks back into the house where the nanny and Satur are already waiting for him. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more stories.